A sperm whale can hold its breath for over an hour and dive deeper than almost any other animal on Earth. Its body is built to survive crushing pressure and total darkness. Nothing should be able to hide inside it without being found. Then, a team studying a dead whale kept working long after most necropsies would have ended. What they found inside did not match anything on record. The whale built to take a beating. Sperm whales are the largest predators on the planet with teeth, and the biggest males can stretch close to 60 feet long. Their whole life is built around one skill, plunging into pitch-black water to hunt squid that most animals never see. To do that, their bodies bend rules that would kill almost anything else. A sperm whale can dive well past a mile down and stay there for over an hour on a single breath. While it dives, its body shuts off almost everything that is not needed. Blood pulls away from the skin and limbs and rushes to the heart and brain instead. A huge wax-filled organ sits inside its skull and seems to help the whale sense its way through the dark and control how it floats. This organ is part of why sperm whales look so strange up close, with that giant blunt forehead taking up so much of the body. Proof of how rough life gets down there shows up all over. A sperm whale's skin. Long white scars, some in circles, some in jagged lines, cover many adult whales. Scientists believe most of these come from fights with giant squid, animals with hooks on their arms strong enough to tear flesh. Even the whale's teeth carry the story. Sperm whales only have real teeth in their lower jaw, and by the time a male is fully grown, those teeth are often chipped, worn, and scarred from years of gripping slippery fighting prey in complete darkness. An animal built this tough should have nothing left to fear once it finally reaches the surface and takes a breath. But what keeps turning up during whale necropsies proves that even the toughest body on the planet can carry something unsettling hidden deep inside it. Long before modern science, people already knew something strange lived inside these animals. Whaling crews centuries ago sometimes cut open a sperm whale and found a hard, waxy lump buried deep in its gut. Nobody understood what it was at the time. Once that lump dried out and aged, it gave off a smell so pleasant that perfume makers around the world began paying huge sums for it. That same lump could also wash up on beaches on its own, which is why old sailors sometimes called it treasure from the sea. Crews also dug through the stomachs of whales they caught and found piles of hard beak fragments left over from squid, proof of just how much these animals ate in water no human could reach. What none of those old crews ever managed to find, cut open, or write down properly was something far stranger, something alive and far bigger than any lump of hardened waste. Back then, nobody had the tools or the training to even recognize what they were looking at. That gap between old sailor stories and real laboratory science is exactly why today's discoveries feel so shocking. The animals have not changed. Our ability to look inside them has. In the spring of a recent year, a large male sperm whale washed ashore on a remote stretch of coastline after apparently struggling for days. A team arrived quickly to examine the body before it broke down too much to study. Deep in the whale's intestine, they found a blockage, a solid clump nearly the size of a beach ball, packed tight with squid beaks, bits of plastic line, and a thick layer of hardened tissue the whale's own body had built up around the debris. Lab work on tissue samples turned up more. The one strain of harmful bacteria growing inside the blockage, and researchers believe the buildup slowly poisoned the whale's bloodstream over weeks or months before it finally died. Scans of the heart showed damage consistent with a slow, spreading infection, not a sudden injury. That single case showed just how much can quietly go wrong inside one of these animals. With no outward sign at all, it also opened the door to a much bigger question about what else might be sitting undiscovered inside a body that size. What a healthy sperm whale's gut usually holds is mostly squid leftovers. Beaks are the one part of a squid that a whale cannot digest. So over the years, those hard little fragments build up and clump together, sometimes forming the exact kind of blockage that can eventually turn deadly. Layer by layer, a whale's own body coats these sharp fragments in protective material, which is part of how the valuable waxy lump forms in the first place. Human trash makes the problem worse. In recent years, rescue teams along different coastlines have pulled dozens of pounds of plastic bags, packaging, and tangled fishing line out of stranded whales, cases so severe that food could no longer pass through the animal system at all. These plastic-related deaths have become common enough that marine biologists now treat ocean trash as one of the most preventable threats these whales face. Before we keep going, if you are enjoying stories like this one, think about subscribing. It really helps this channel keep making them. Blockages, bacteria, hardened waste, and plastic are disturbing enough on their own. None of that fully explains the discovery that has sent researchers back through decades of old whale samples. That discovery was not garbage at all. It was alive, and it was longer than the whale carrying it. Buried deep inside the reproductive tissue of a pregnant female, researchers found a coiled ribbon-like worm stretching close to 25 feet long. It was tightly wound into a space barely big enough to hold a basketball, which meant untangling it without damaging the specimen took hours of careful work. Because this parasite only lives in that one specific tissue, scientists only ever encounter it while studying pregnant females, making every single discovery of one an extremely rare event on its own. A second, even stranger parasite has turned up inside the intestines of sperm whales and some of their close relatives. This one is a tapeworm, and instead of one solid body, it grows as an enormous chain of tiny segments joined end to end. A small hooked structure anchors the whole worm to the gut wall while new segments keep forming behind it, each one carrying its own set of reproductive parts. Some recovered specimens have contained tens of thousands of these tiny segments strung together, meaning one single parasite can behave almost like a colony of thousands of smaller creatures sharing one long body. Fully grown, one of these worms can stretch longer than a city bus. Finding something this size, hiding inside such a well-studied animal, raises an obvious question. If a creature that large can go unnoticed for this long, what else might still be hiding inside these whales that nobody has ever had the chance to properly examine? That question became urgent again after researchers, looking through years of stranding records from a smaller, closely related whale species, noticed something they had never cataloged before. Hidden in the stomach lining of several stranded animals were bacteria that did not match anything in existing records. Every whale carrying this unknown bacteria also showed serious damage to its stomach lining, including inflammation, scarring, and open sores. Scientists have not yet proven that the bacteria alone caused any of these deaths, partly because this smaller whale species is famously hard to study. It lives far from shore, travels in small, quiet groups, and almost never stays at the surface long enough for researchers to observe it while still alive. Most of what scientists know about its health comes only from animals that wash up already dying or dead, like a young whale found struggling near a remote coastline last year, whose examination revealed a plastic bag lodged deep in its stomach next to a heavy parasite infestation that likely helped kill it. Discovering an entirely new type of bacteria inside a well. Studied group of animals forced scientists to ask a bigger, more uncomfortable question about every stranded whale case that came before this one. If bacteria this significant went completely undetected for decades, some researchers now wonder how many older stranding cases originally blamed only on plastic, ship strikes, or unclear causes, actually involved a hidden infection playing a role nobody noticed at the time. That possibility does not erase what scientists already know for certain about plastic pollution and fishing gear. Killing whales? Those causes remain clearly documented and confirmed. It does mean researchers are now going back through old preserved tissue samples using tools that simply did not exist when those whales were first examined, checking for parasites and bacteria that nobody thought to look for the first time around. This kind of re-examination is slow and careful, and it rarely produces one dramatic answer. Instead, it tends to add new layers to cases that once seemed closed, showing that a death blamed on one obvious cause may have actually involved several problems working together inside the whale's body at once. Modern genetic tools now let scientists identify exact bacteria strains from tiny frozen tissue samples that were collected decades ago for completely different reasons. That means old specimen archives sitting quietly in university freezers might still hold answers and nobody ever thought to look for when those samples were first stored away. Even with modern scanning tools and genetic testing now available, plenty of basic questions about what lives inside a sperm whale remain unanswered. Nobody knows exactly how common these giant tapeworm infections are across the wider population, since finding one fully intact inside a dead whale depends almost entirely on luck and timing. Nobody has confirmed whether the newly discovered stomach bacteria actually kills its host directly, weakens its immune system enough for other problems to take hold, or simply exists quietly alongside more serious health issues without causing them. Researchers also do not have a clear picture of how often blockages, like the one found on that remote coastline, actually happen out. At sea, since most cases only ever become visible once an already dead whale washes ashore. Whales that die from these hidden problems far out in open water likely sink or get scavenged long before anyone gets a chance to examine them, meaning every documented case on record might represent only a small, visible piece of a much bigger pattern happening completely out of sight. Scientists studying strandings openly admit that the animals they get to examine on beaches may not be representative of the wider population at all, since a whale that dies quietly out at sea leaves behind no record whatsoever. None of this changes the basic picture scientists already understand about sperm whales as one of the toughest predators in the ocean. Animals built to survive crushing pressure, total darkness, and violent fights with creatures nearly their own size. What has changed is how confident scientists can be that they already understand everything happening inside that same animal once it finally dies. A worm longer than a city bus, bacteria nobody had ever classified before, and a blockage built slowly out. Of the whale's own natural defenses, all turned up inside bodies that scientists had already studied for decades. Every new necropsy keeps proving the same basic point. A sperm whale's toughest battles are not only fought against giant squid somewhere in the deep. Some of the strangest survival stories are happening quietly inside its own body, and researchers are only now starting to catch up with what has been hiding there the entire time. If mysteries like this one from deep in the ocean are your thing, subscribing helps more of these stories find their way to you the moment they come out.